Hello and welcome to Atomic Flicks. This is my first video and I'm hoping that it will get the attention of people and people will watch it, because I started this channel in the hopes of expressing my opinions on movies, reviews, and expressing myself as well, comedically and occasionally losing my mind. But without further ado, I'd like to say that I'm excited as shit today. Why? Because I get to review Guardians of the Galaxy, and even though it's been out for a few weeks, I'm excited to say what I think about the movie, because it is a one hell of a very, very unique movie, and the box office says that as well, and I do not agree that TMNT beat them for number one. Without further ado, let's start. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, our leader, Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, aka Christopher Pratt, which, by the way, this guy is amazing. This guy has Hollywood by its balls, because he is a badass, he is hilarious, and this guy could probably be in romantic comedies with Reese Witherspoon. So cool how they mixed all the 80s type of action with a modern movie, because this is what I wanted. Where the fuck did the 80s go? Well, they're here again in Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, moving on to another character, Gamora. Booby! Gamora is Green Goddess. She is actually the daughter of Thanos, but as all movie plots go, she wants to rebel against her father and then go join the good guys. She is awesome, played by Zoe Saldana. She is amazing. Booby! Her role was really cool. She was the mind of the whole team, because unlike Peter, Quill, Rocket, or Groot, or even Drax, she really had the plan. She was probably the smartest out of all of them. I'm not saying that she did all the work, but she provided the booby. Now we're moving on to Drax. Drax is my favorite character in a movie. I've never had such an appeal to this character. I like how he has a thirst for vengeance, and he is so lighthearted. I mean, he's a soft guy, but inside all that muscle, which muscular usually type of characters always seem to be the asses of the movie, and that's not really cool. But this time he was hilarious too, because he took everything for real. He couldn't accept a metaphor until later on in the movie. Spoiler much. You don't really see that muscular type of humor and coolness in a movie. Usually they're just badasses. Played by Batista, WWE wrestler. I did not know wrestlers could act. Oh, that's right, Dwayne The Rock. He starts really as an enigma, even though you kind of already got the hang of that his family was killed by Ronan, which in this case, it actually ended up, according to the comics, Thanos, who was the one that actually killed his family, I think. I don't base me on that. Now moving on to the other two characters, which probably the most comedic relief characters I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Rocket Raccoon and Groot, played by Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, because he's Bradley Cooper, and Groot, voiced by Vin Diesel, which kind of took almost 1,000 times he had to record his voice saying the iconic line of Groot, "I am Groot." Now, let's move on to Rocket Raccoon first. This guy was the little puny tiny fella that you think is so cute, and then he beats the shit out of him, and then you have no idea what happened. This guy was ferocious, and he was made to be a raccoon, and then people, when you see a raccoon, you're like, oh, look at, and then he attacks you. He's not really a raccoon. He was a raccoon, but then some people experimented on him and took him apart and then put him back together, and now he's some sentinel being that looks like a raccoon, but is not at all. Bradley Cooper based his voice of Joe Pesci. You probably already know him by Home Alone. He was in a lot of other movies, but again, I only know him for Home Alone. But enough from him, let's go to Groot. This guy made me give a shit about a walking tree. This guy made me laugh, but the way he said, I am Groot sometimes, it was amazing. it sounded like he wasn't even saying I'm Groot, because the way he said it, it's all about the way that you say something. It comes up as a different thing, like, will you date me, or will you date a huge tree or plant, living plant, walking around in the galaxy? What would he be doing? Vin Diesel was a perfect choice because he really had that deep type of voice. You didn't really know it was him, because if you did, you'd just be thinking Fast and Furious. And yeah, and it doesn't really always work that way when you get such a usual type of serious guy for a movie. But in this case it worked, and it worked out perfect. This movie was a masterpiece. Okay, this movie rocked more than McFly in his father's prom in the 50s. This movie was amazing. I really suggested. I've read some reviews too, and some people just didn't live up to their expectations. This is Marvel, and it was a bit of a step down from the Avengers. It didn't have that Avengers feel, but that's the point. It was supposed to be different, unique, in its own way. So stop saying shit! It was more of something different, but it's in the same universe, so they're combining the same universe. They're merging them together. And, I don't know, maybe you will see Quill fighting with or against Hulk. Who would win? Quill? The fact that we're gonna see them, hopefully, because in the end of the movie, it said the Guardians will return, and that's when we all fangirled. I know I fangirled. Easter eggs. The Easter eggs were some of the best Easter eggs I've heard. Now, I don't remember too much of them, but most of the Easter eggs could be found in the collector's room. Collector's room, he collected a bunch of shit, I'll tell you. He collected a lot of shit. Okay, the guy is a hoarder. He should be in the show Hoarder. Collector played by Benicio del Toro. The Wolfman, the Raccoon from Thor, a dark elf from Thor again, and the ones that we all saw, the Russian space dog. So this guy's stealing our shit. In the end of the credits, there was Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck! I mean, who would not know who Howard the Duck is? I heard he was from the comics. His movie was made in the 80s. Yeah, his movie was not the best of movies. He appeared as a simple Easter egg. Mark Gunn specifically said that he was not going to be in any other movies, just a little tiny Easter egg. You're not going to see him going up against Magneto or any of the X-Men, obviously, or Spider-Man or Iron Man or anyone. He's just there. It was really interesting to add Howard the Duck, even though I stayed for the credits to see something about the Avengers too. It shows that he was part of the collector's, like, collection items, and like his tank was broken. He was just sitting there sipping on some drink. This movie also has its, let's say, little winks, if you may say, to the other classical 80s movies, like for Indiana Jones, Quill. He's kind of like Indiana Jones himself. I mean, he steals stuff, and that's all he's done for the rest of his life. Kind of like Indiana Jones. He steals shit, and then he goes and sells it. Now, in the beginning, when he was about to get a little more, it was just like Indiana Jones, grabbing that magical golden thing, and then the ball comes, except there was no ball. In this case, there was Korath, who was the one that caught him, and he didn't even know who Star-Lord was. Groot, to me, gave off a Chewbacca type of feel, because he's cool, and you don't really know what the fuck he means, but he really gets in the feel. Quill and Rocket Raccoon were kind of both Han Solo, because Rocket Raccoon was a Han Solo because he was with Chewbacca, in this case Groot, and he knew everything that Groot was saying, even though he can only say "I am Groot." And then we have Quill here, who was also like Han Solo because he was this ragtag renegade that didn't really go by the rules. It was his own, and then his ship was all messy, kind of like the Millennium Falcon. I really recommend this movie. That's pretty much all I have to say for my first video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'll keep making more videos because I'm gonna do that, and I love talking about movies and reviewing. Goodbye. I'm still working on a cool, fresh ending, but for now, keep watching movies and goodbye.